Hi, baby. Today we are going to be talking about the things we don't often talk about in the midst of your pivot. And so this is What Would Laura Do Wednesday, where I answer your questions. So if you ever have a question, you can just submit it. But today, the thing that's been coming up and the things that I've been hearing inside of Arrival and questions around this is I want to pivot. I want to change. I want to up level. I want to do these kind of things. But what happens if I outgrow the ones around me, specifically my partner? So if that's something you've been grappling with inside of your soul, this is going to be your space. Make sure that you save this, come back to it, refer it, share with the friends. And if you are new to my space, come say hello. I can see Mick. I can see the Women Want Today podcast. I can see a whole bunch of you popping on here. So make sure you say hello. And if your name isn't in your handle, type your name in so I get to know who you are. And yeah, I'm really excited about this one. It's been on my heart. I've seen it in my peer masterminds. I've seen it in my own mentorship inside of Arrival, and something that we really focus on inside of Revitalize. And so a thing that I want to do first is I want you to get in your body and maybe take the deepest breath that you've taken all day, deep into your belly. I know sometimes when we've had a stressful day, we can be like wearing our shoulders as earrings, and we can be in this little bubble of tension. And I just want you to relax for a second and check in with your body. How are you feeling? Are you feeling a little anxious? Are you feeling a little stressed? Are you feeling a little overwhelmed? Are you feeling happy? Are you feeling turned on? Like, what are you doing right now? Where are you feeling it? And just like land here and feel into what you want to get out of today. By the end of the day, when your head hits your pillow, how do you want to feel? And just hold that for a second. And then what's that like one thing you can do to help get into alignment for that? And just hold that. Feel like the end of your day is complete and you just feel so good, like feeling that feeling in your body. And then when you're ready to enter the room, open your eyes and land here with me. And so, hi, if you are new, I'm so excited. This conversation is a big one. It's this desire for more. It's that feminine desire we have. Like, I want more. Things are good. They're good. We have consistency. We have, health stuff. Like, things aren't bad. They aren't as bad as they once were, and they're good. But you're craving more. One, I want you to know that's really fucking normal. Like, that's so normal. That shows that you're on this growth portal. You're on this evolution. It's this wonderful place to be. To make sure the mic works all good. Thank you. It's a beautiful place to be, right? But there's also this other aspect. This aspect of, but there's this soul desire that there's something else. But the thing that holds you back from having that soul desire and this evolution and this growth is because what do I have to lose to step into that? More importantly, who? My mentor said something today on our call and it really landed deep. It's not about who you lose. It's about who you don't meet if you don't go. And I loved that. And so if you're new here, I'm going to do a quick introduction of myself. My name is Laura Patricia Martin. I am a trauma and relationship specialist. All that is to say I have a whole bunch of certifications and a whole bunch of things to help you enter your body. I specifically work with women that are looking to shift and change the generational trauma specifically around their relationship so that they can call in love, they can hold love, they can balance love. And that goes directly into this conversation. And so you may be feeling like you're on the edge of a breakthrough, or you're craving some type of pivot, or there's that thing, you're like, it's right on the horizon. And then when you think about that thing, you're like, oh, fuck. What if I outgrow my partner? What if my family doesn't understand me? Hello, Megan. What if my family doesn't understand me? What if my friends judge me because I stop drinking, or I become super woo-woo, or I get into like this trauma work, or I talk about money, or I dress a certain way, or I speak a different way? Like, what if they judge me? And these fears, they get in our way because they keep us in this like analysis paralysis area. Like, what is this risk reward, especially if you've been through trauma? Because the thing about trauma, and this is why Revitalize was born and why it's not a business mastermind, it is for the healing hearts, it is for the people that are calling in more, it's for the people that want balance, is when we've been through trauma and we finally have safety, it can be really fucking hard to leave that. And when you have it, it's like, oh, but I have fought tooth and nail to finally have a family. I have fought tooth and nail to finally have a career. I have fought tooth and nail to finally have what I have now. So shouldn't I be grateful? But yet there's this kind of this desire where there's probably more alignment. There's probably more, like deeper love. There's probably this thing, but like, what if I disrupt this ecosystem that is now safe? And I don't hear this enough in this space of self-development, and specifically when it comes to trauma, where it's like you're safe and now it's kind of scary to move into this other state. So this may be what you're feeling, and that's why today is a good space for you. And it really comes down to these 3 points. And if you see me looking down, it's because I have notes for this one, y'all. I have notes. And if you're looking for, pivoting, and yet you're craving the security and you're craving, this deep inner knowing, there's 3 areas, right? So we have having this inner awareness, which is connecting to your younger self. And I'm going to break all of these down through this live. Connecting to your younger self. So inner acceptance, inner awareness, and then we have creating inner security, which is so fucking important. And then we have having feminine grace with your communication, which is really your embodiment. And so it doesn't matter if this is like the first time you're ever hearing about this stuff, or you're like not even making your pivot yet, or you're not even calling in these kind of things, or you're already in it. You're like, I'm already fucking in it. Things are moving too fast, and I'm just looking to learn more and somehow create some stabilization so that I can tap into these things and do these kind of things. Like, it doesn't matter what spectrum you're in. You're going to get so much out of today's session. And so these are core pieces that I'm going to be talking inside of Revitalize. And so Revitalize is our 6-month mastermind that just fucking launched. It's on early bird. It is for the woman that is looking to cultivate these 3 areas of her life and really step into it. And she's seen that she's had this like growth, but now she's craving this deeper intimacy with her relationships and with, herself, and to create this sense of security. So she's no longer like kind of freaking out in this like hungry ghost scenario that's going on. It's this safety. And I'll be talking about that throughout this. And so if your goal is, you're in the space of growth and you're looking more and more to have balance. Like, it's not that you want to give one or the other. Like, you love your savage, you love your hustle, you love that you have this life of goals and stuff. My bangs are making me a little annoyed right now. So sorry I keep touching them. They still feel like a hat. And you're in the space of wanting balance, and you're in the space of wanting love within your growth. You're in the space of wanting to communicate better. You're in the space of wanting deep friendships and intimacy and these kind of parts of yourself. You're ready for that. Or you're like on the other spectrum of like, fuck it, I'm all in. If you fuck with my money, you fuck with me. This is me when I first started my business. If you fuck with my money, get the fuck out of my way. Like, all in, nothing, like no life, no nothing, forget everything else. If your goal is number 1 and you're looking now for balance, that takes looking at what are the needle moving forward activities, what are the somatics, what am I doing to create safety. It's all these points I'm going to talk about today, and I deepen even more inside of Revitalize, right? And so let's break these things down. So awareness, right? Inner awareness, which is younger self work. And what do I mean by that? You, as you are, your deliciously sexy self, basically run your life from a traumatized 7-year-old. Like, a lot of the things we do, I think it's like 97%, I know it's 97% of who you are, and, the way you communicate, the way you act, the way you show up in the world, all the kind of things, like, that is based on what you've known. Your past runs every single thing about you. And then there's a sexy little 5 to 3% that is our conscious thought. And that's what leads you to these things. That's what you know about when you step into containers and you're like, okay, I know this part of myself and I know these things about myself, and yet I'm still reacting in these ways. That is the inner parts, the younger parts. And so in order to shift anything, we have to become aware. And so you might be in the stage of like, I want to have this breakthrough. I want to have this quantum leap. I want to call in the love story of my ages. I want to have these parts that, we're ready for it. I'm here. I'm ready for my person. if you've ever experienced heartbreak, if you've ever had abandonment, if you've ever been rejected, if you've ever navigated these things in your life, there's a sneaky part of our younger self that gets in our way where it's like, yeah, but remember the last time you felt that and you got really hurt and remember how all guys are cheated on you? Remember this? Remember that anytime you've been successful, someone has fucked with your money? Remember this? Remember when you were successful and then, you got super sick? Fuck. Remember this? That's the sneaky part of ourselves. And so it comes into play. And so even though we want something and we crave it, and we're looking at all the business strategies and we're looking at, how many times are we swiping and we're going on 1,800 dates a week and we're doing all the things, you're not having the success that you want. Right? And this is why the first thing that I talk about inside of Revitalize is we walk into this practice. Like, where in this younger part of you is playing the lead right now? And how can we start to dismantle this so that you can clean that up a bit? So she or he or they are no longer running the show. They get a seat at the table. This is the difference of the way that I do things. They get a seat at the table. We are not neglecting these parts of ourselves. Because if we're neglecting them, they're shameful. And then we have this thing of where we're not actually looking in the past and we're only looking at the future. And we're kind of getting tripped up on the future and we're not there yet. And then we actually don't get started because the future seems so far gone. We have to look at the past, but we have to look at the past with compassion and love and acceptance. And so it's this awareness and acceptance piece that is key to getting you to where you want to go. And we break this down even further and we do the whole next step that I'm going to be talking about, which is creating inner security. This piece is fucking key. You cannot move forward without it. You cannot. You can get to a certain level. Don't get me wrong. But there's a reason why some of the most successful people in the world have the highest suicide rates. They're having, the most drug use. They're doing these kind of things. It's because the highs only hit for so long. This one was so big for me. So in February of 2022, I was ready. Like, I had been through so much fucking shit in my life, domestic violence, drugs, eating disorders, loss of my mom to addictions, various addictions of my own, all the kind of things. Like, I've done that. So I was like, fucking give it to me, God. And so I shot up this prayer. God, give me the death I need to rise to my highest power and be at the greatest service. I was on an airplane. I remember exactly the moment. I thought it was going to be like blocks around money. I thought it was going to be around like alcohol and like how I no longer need it or the whatever. Like, I thought it was going to be some type of revelation. No. Every form of security that I had came crashing down. Because God is kind of a kinky motherfucker, isn't he? So I had this, my boyfriend decided to break up with me. We no longer were moving to Florida and buying the house and doing the thing. My dad and mine's relationship ruptured. I had no masculine energy to protect me anymore because that was a deep wound of mine. I thought I needed a man to protect me. And yet I kept chasing these unavailable men and I kept doing these things and I kept being in this. But I had faith. And you may be in this position where I had faith. I was like, I shot that prayer up. I don't get to tell God what to do. I don't get to do that. I can just accept and move with it. And so there was this quote that came up. Whereas it was, if God told me to do it, he'll show me how. And I heard that in church one time and I was like, oh, you are delicious. And so, yeah, it was this fear of, am I going to lose? And I remember now moving into this relationship I have now in this life circumstance and, this chapter of my life where I'm like all in. It is fucking iconic season. It is revitalized season. Like, we are in for life. And I felt this twinge. And I was like, oh my God, I'm afraid of being devoted to my life and to making even bigger pivots and, going 10x. You see Shoshana, who is my mentor, talking about this, going 10x and, going all in and doing these things. And if you want 10x, 80% of the things you do, like, we have to give up 80% of the shit that we do. And I was like, oh fuck, is my relationship going to die? Like, what's going to happen? And so I sat down with Sex Man and I was like, I have this fear. Because last time this happened, it happened. Because my relationship, it was like, I hope someone doesn't, I just can't hold this. You're going to do amazing things and I just don't think I'm the person that can walk with you. The fear we all fear. That was my life. And I was like, oh, fuck. Like, okay. But then I know this about myself, and I've done that inner younger part self that I'm going to walk you through inside of Revitalize. And I've done the inner security piece. And I walk you through that. Because the inner security piece is the somatics, is the trauma work. And the fear of, am I going to lose them? Is that really more scary than if you don't meet the fullest potential of who you are? That to me, I was like, oh shit. No, but I'm still terrified. And so it's going in and it's doing the somatic work to work through that, because if there's trauma around it, and that's what it was, trauma is a frozen emotion. It's not necessarily something that happened, but it was creating a block, right? So I had a partner that had left me because of my visions and my goals were too big and he couldn't hold it. And so that emotion got frozen in place. And so as I'm stepping into this new season, calling these things in again, it's like, oh, that thing is still frozen. How can I start to create safety around it? How can I start to release around it? And this is what we're doing. This is my life's work, right? Like, this is what I've been doing the last 2 years, what I've been doing for the last fucking 7 years of my life, is looking at this stuff. How can I unfreeze what's frozen so I can feel safe in every growth that I'm in? That I know that no matter what, the relationships that come with are meant to. And there's a way of doing that. There's an art form. You don't have to leave everyone. You don't have to break up with someone because they're not supporting. Like, that's not the vibe here. It goes into number 3, which is having feminine grace within your communication. Because having feminine grace within your communication is your embodiment. Because there's no pedestaling where you're at. It's just choosing new standards for your life, right? And letting people catch up. And yes, sometimes things shift, and sometimes friendships go, and sometimes relationships go, and it's hard. Losing my relationship with my father, one of the hardest things, because I don't have family. That was hard. Losing that relationship with my ex, hard. The life I have now, worth it. And that seems wild. Like, if you would have said that to me back then, wild. But because I had the tools that I teach you in Revitalizing, because I've refined them throughout this journey, because I've walked this path, it was this feminine grace part that I have learned now in this chapter of my life with my friends, with my partner. How are you communicating? Is it in a way that is soft and fluid and tender? And I'm not even going to lie, I don't get this right 100% of the time, but I work on it. I want this to be the thing that leads. And it's okay. The only way we learn is if we practice. This is why Revitalize is in a group setting. Like, we get spotlight on you. So we get to heal with you. We get to focus with you. We get one-on-one with you. Like a mastermind setting. You think of like Toastmasters when you're in the front and you're like practicing your speech, and then people are there and like we're watching and we're making sure like you get so comfortable being seen in this space. But this is the art form. The feminine grace and the softness in which you evolve. How are you communicating it to the people around you? Is it get in or get out, fuck you? Is it like tender of like, I feel my growth coming. I feel this deep devotion. I feel this expansion. I feel something huge on the horizon. Horizon, I really weirdly said that. What can we do to walk that together? Can we have this conversation? Can we create checkpoints? Can we have some prevention things? And the people that are in that with you are there for you in that. Right? And so that's the whole embodiment piece, is if, who do you know yourself to be? Are you that type of person that can hold it all? In a way that I was reflecting on this morning, because my mentor had said something in where, you've held every hard thing through your entire life up until now. What if right now, with whatever's rupturing, with whatever's shifting, with whatever's changing, with that soul craving that's inside of you, what if you compared that to your past and that version of you and how you've gotten yourself here, as opposed to getting future tripped on the gap between you and the next version of you and all that kind of stuff. What if the strength that you have holds you in that? Because I remember that moment where it was like when my ex had left and it was like for these reasons and whatever, and it's just like, of course the human happens. And I actually have a reel around this. I should share it after this live. Where it was like, whatever that clip is, where it's like, I wanted it so badly to be you until I realized you didn't want me. And like a lot of people in reels were making this very sad reels. And they were like crying harder. Where like mine was like, I was crying and then I was like, oh, I realized you didn't want me. Thank you. Thank you, because then I can align with someone that does. And someone that'll cherish all these things. And because as you go and as you learn, you realize you are never too much for the right people. Does it take a certain type of communication style? Yes. Does it take a certain type of balance in your life where like in your business, you're like the sexual CEO and all this kind of stuff. And then in your life, you're this like feminine softness. Like there are roles that people play in relationships, and understanding this is so fucking pivotal, especially for people that are like type A career driven women. Like it's so fucking pivotal. But can you actually hold all of that? Yes. Are you resourced to do it? That's where it's up to you to guide yourself into the spaces like Revitalize, to learn these tools so that you can step in and you can truly hold it all and be seen and be heard and be validated and be witnessed in the real humanness of the pivots, so that your nervous system doesn't go into shock and do this like hyperventilation. I need to cut everything else and everything's on fire and all whatever, to balance, regulation, growth. And so the three things that we talked about, just to reiterate, the three keys if you're going through a breakup and you're not a breakup, a breakthrough. Sorry, my brain's on breakups today. If you're going through a breakthrough and you're craving a pivot, you kind of see yourself like that shifting of identity is quite terrifying. There are three areas that you can tap into, which is your inner awareness and inner acceptance of this like younger self that might have been running the show. The creating inner security. So this is the somatic and trauma work. And then the feminine grace and the way that you communicate and just in life in general, the embodiment piece. And these are the three keys that we focus on inside of Revitalized. So if you are someone that is looking for your place on the internet, you're like, I am so fucking ready for my soft space to land. I'm ready to actually be seen in my mastermind for more than just what I do, but for who I am. And I'm ready to discover what the fuck that is. That's what this space is. It is unlike anything I've seen. It is what I've been craving within the spaces I've been in. It's just like your true close-knit community that you are fully seen, heard, felt. We go through the somatics because it's different. It is different if you've been through trauma and leaping in these ways and, you're trying to grow these relationships on the back end or be a good mother or be in this life and like handle the health issues that are going on while growing this business. There needs to be a space for that. A space for you to heal. A space where someone zones in fully on you. And so for 6 months, that's what we're doing. We're going to keep it a close-knit community so that you get focused in time. You get to be seen. We're going to have bi-weekly calls, so 2 calls a month. You're going to get an onboarding call with me to make it crystal clear of how to work, and we get to personalize it and play with that. During the duration of it, you get access to everything in my product suite. So any masterclasses that I run, any programs that I run, so you do get access to Sacred Singlehood, which in and of itself is a bundle because that's like $2,000 in and of itself if you just bought it on its own. You get the somatic tools, the somatic practices, the masterclasses, all the stuff to support you in that. And then you get the private channel where you get to connect with your future soulmates. And from there, we get to talk about relationships. We get to talk about health. We get to talk about sex. We get to talk about body image. We get to talk about trauma and truly fucking heal it in the space of like-hearted women, because it is different. It's different when you're an entrepreneur, when you're healing your shit. Like it is just different. It's different being an entrepreneur and dating. It's different being an entrepreneur and being a mother and being in a relationship. It is. And to be understood in that capacity changes everything. And so if you want to join this 6-month journey right now, it's open for application. So all you have to do is go to my page, and up at the top, you'll see the application process. So you click it, go to the application, and then you will hear back from me in 24 hours to see if it's a good match, and we'll have a conversation. If you just want to have a conversation, you can DM me right here and we'll have a conversation. It'll be glorious. We'll see if it's a good fit. We can send some voice notes back and forth. It'll be perfect. Right now, it's on early bird. It is $777, which is wild. It is wild, but I wanted to make it an easy fuck yes for you. An easy fuck yes. Because these are the things that we need, but we kind of have clenches around investing. Like, it's easy for us to be like, oh, I'm going to invest in a mastermind that's going to make me my first 10K months, my first six-figure months. Like, that is easy for us. If it's about love and healing, there's a clench. And I know that because I did that. So I want to make it a no-brainer until you realize this is the most important thing that you will ever invest in. You, your heart, and your nervous system. There is nothing that is more important than that. And the money comes, and the relationships come, and the family and the health, and all that kind of stuff. It comes with this. It's just getting our mind around that. And so for right now, it is on early bird. This is how you're going to jump in. Feel free to reach out, like this, share this. These are the conversations we need to know. The truth around the pivots, the realness around making pivots, and how we can overcome them. Like, what do we do when we're stuck in this? Because you're not alone in it. I got your freaking back. I've walked it so many times. And if you're shooting that prayer up to God, being like, God, give me the death I need to rise to my highest potential, He's heard you. Now it is just preparing it and releasing what no longer serves you. Revitalize is your home for that. I got you in every capacity. So I love you so freaking much. Let me know in the comments, how did this land? Or you can DM me if that feels more comfortable for you, but I'd love to hear from you. Okay? So I'll see you somewhere on the internet. Happy healings, baby.